As a kid, we weren't allowed to eat a lot of sweets at home. My parents never got us the good cereal like Lucky Charms or Captain Crunch. They always gave us those plain flavored cornflakes, and we were only allowed to season it with coconut shavings. So now I love everything that is flavored in coconut. But I still remember one day, my dad had come home at the end of the week on a Friday, and typically on Fridays, my dad would bring us our favorite Mexican food from this restaurant by where he worked. And then this particular day, he not only had the food, but he also had something else in his other hand. And it was this platter that looked like it was filled with a bunch of little bites of chocolate. He worked at a church and he said, hey, we had this big social at the church today and they let me bring home all of the leftover sweets. And so he put this platter down, and I can probably imagine my mom not being so happy that there was all this sugar, but my dad has a sweet tooth and my mom doesn't. So it was just this funny way of growing up. My dad would always sneak us these little candies. But on this one particular day, there was this platter, and what I remember now, it was this caramel toffee flavored fudge. I'd never had that before. So I had one, and it was the best thing I had ever tasted. So then I had another, and another, and another, and another. And for the rest of the evening, I kept eating this fudge. And at some point, it stopped tasting as good as that first bite did, but I kept eating because we just didn't get sweets that often. But it made my stomach hurt. It upset my stomach, and I was sick all night. To this day, I can't eat toffee flavored anything because I still can remember what that night was like. You know, sometimes we think as we're kids that the more of something that we have, the better our life is going to be. So the more candy, the more cookies, the more slices of pizza, whatever it is, we think that the more we have, the happier we're going to be. It's not just kids that think that way. As adults, we do that in different ways. We think that if we have more money, then we'll have more happiness. If we have not just more houses, but better homes, better cars, more clothes, more shoes, better retirement. We often think that the more or the better of something that we have, that the happier we're going to be. But what we realize is that's not necessarily true. We've seen people that are rich beyond measure, but yet who are terribly unhappy. We see people that have everything that we think we want, but they have no inner peace. And on the other hand, we see people that don't have very much, people that are poor, and yet they have so much peace and joy in their lives. You know, Jesus speaks to this circumstance in our lives. He says this in John 10:10, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." You know, Jesus is talking to his believers, to his fellow disciples, and he says, listen, the thief, the devil, Satan, he comes to steal and kill and destroy. He wants to destroy your relationships. He wants to destroy your health. He wants to destroy your positive mindset. He wants to put roadblocks and obstacles in your life so that all you can do is focus on all those external things that are going terribly wrong in your life. And he wants you to focus on that so that he can steal your joy, steal your happiness, destroy relationships. And Jesus says, as long as you keep focusing on the external circumstances in your life, you're almost always going to see the negative. But then Jesus gives us this promise. He says, but I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. You know, sometimes we think that Jesus only comes to earth so that he can rescue us and take us to be in heaven with him. But Jesus doesn't just come to rescue us from this earth, but Jesus comes to help us to live a more abundant and more joy-filled life on this earth. He says, I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. But we live in a life where we give more of our power and our joy to scarcity thinking. And there's a difference between scarcity thinking and abundance thinking. Scarcity thinking is, let's say you get passed up for a promotion and maybe your coworker or your friend gets that promotion. Scarcity thinking would say, well, if he got that promotion, if she got that promotion, then I'm never going to get promoted. I should find another job. Scarcity thinking is looking at someone else's life who maybe has more resources, has more means, has more money, has a nicer car, and you think to yourself, well, I'm never going to have that. I'm never going to get that paycheck. I'm never going to get that car. Scarcity thinking is looking at someone else's marriage and thinking to yourself, man, their marriage is so much better than mine. My marriage is never going to be good like that. But see, what ends up happening when we give into this scarcity thinking is that we then kind of take ourselves out of our own life. We kind of take the foot off of the gas pedal of our life, and instead of investing into these things that we want to have a better life in, we end up pulling back, and it actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy when we don't get the things we think we deserve. But you see, abundance thinking is how we build more joy and peace in our lives. So abundance thinking would say, wow, my coworker got that promotion. I am so happy for her. I'm happy for him. They deserve that job. Hey, one day I will be able to have that. Abundance thinking is looking at the lives of our friends and seeing how God has answered prayers in their lives and praising God for that and saying, if God can do it for them, then you know what? God can do it for me too. Abundance thinking is thinking, hey, one day I will have that house. One day I will have that car. One day I will have all of the inner peace and joy that I need. So you see, when Jesus comes to give us an abundant life, it's not just about all of the physical and material things that God is going to give us. In fact, what Jesus is talking about isn't even the material possessions, but what Jesus is asking us to do is begin to realize that the abundant life he comes to give us is a life that is filled with joy, with peace, with meaning, with purpose. You see, Jesus doesn't tell us that he will rescue us from every bad circumstance in our life. In fact, just because you believe in Jesus doesn't mean that you won't experience pain and suffering. As long as you live on this earth, there will be moments in life where you will experience loss. You may go through the end of a marriage. You may lose a job. You may get into some debt. You may have to experience pain. But Jesus says that even in the moments of pain and suffering and uncertainty in your life, that you can still live with an abundance of the presence of Christ in your life. And we know that when Jesus is a part of our lives, we have strength we didn't know we had. The Bible says that with Jesus, there is nothing impossible. So even if you find yourself going through what we call the valley of the shadow of death, this moment of uncertainty, this moment of pain and suffering, that Jesus still wants to give you the abundant life. Jesus still wants you to be able to get past the obstacles in your life, and Jesus will empower you to get through even the darkest moments of your life. So today I want to leave you with the encouragement. Seek to have an abundance mindset. Seek to see all of the blessings in your life. Because if you're just focusing on how things are going badly, you're going to be blind to the blessings that Jesus is giving you today. So take a moment and look around and look at all of the things for which you are grateful. Because when you have gratitude, gratitude is the antidote to comparison. Comparison will always make you feel like you don't have enough. Comparison will always make you feel like your life isn't good enough. But when you seek to find the reasons for which you are grateful, you'll actually begin to see that your life is a whole lot better than you thought it was. So I want to encourage you, look for the blessings in your life. Learn for all of the things for which you are grateful, and you'll begin to realize that Jesus is already making the abundant life manifest in your life.